Hey friends, welcome to my channel, aHauntMess, a safe space where we can discuss all things spooky, paranormal, dark, mysterious, unexplainable. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you found yourself in the right spot. My name is Lauren Alina, and I'm so excited you're here for our very first episode, episode 1. So before we get started, as you guys may have known, Pope Francis passed away Easter Monday, which was April 21st of last month. He was 88 years old, and that got myself and our coworkers into a deep discussion, and things escalated from there very quickly, and people were sharing their own paranormal and ghostly experiences, but that is a story for another time. So what is an exorcist? What is an exorcism? Let's talk about it. Before we start, make sure to grab yourself a snack, a drink, something comforting. We're having a Coke Zero. Let's get into it. You might have already seen some exorcism movies like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Conjuring, The Rite, The Nun. So you might already know that an exorcism is the removal or attempted expulsion of an alleged evil spirit from a person or a place. I'm not here to deep dive into religion, but as far as exorcisms go, Jesus was said to cast away evil spirits. So obviously, these acts have been going on for over roughly 2,000 years by now. Multiple religions accept and are said to perform exorcisms. When a person is possessed by a demon or entity, the exorcism itself is very much regulated by canon law from the Roman Catholic Church. I had no idea what canon law was, so I had to look that up, and it said that canon law is a grouping of laws created by Christian churches such as Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, Eastern Christianity churches, and many more. This is a set of laws that dictate and direct actions and the behaviors of individuals during the exorcism. So obviously, exorcists are required to abide by certain rules and regulations to basically ensure the safety of everybody involved. Looking a little bit further into exorcisms as a whole, it says that there are 4 different stages. Malachi Martin, a well-known Catholic priest, said that the first part of an exorcism is the pretense. This is when the demonic figure hides its identity. This is then followed by the breakpoint. This is when the demon reveals itself. The clash is the 3rd phase, which is when the person performing the exorcism and the demon itself fight for the soul of the possessed. The last step is the expulsion. This is where, if the exorcist gains control of the demon then leaves the body of the possessed. So that left me wondering, what if it doesn't end up that way? Does that ever happen? I tried to look online, and there were a lot of interesting stories, but there were no situations by any religious figureheads that performed these that said otherwise. So I guess it's left up for us to kind of figure out ourselves. So thinking back on the previous movies we mentioned, if you really think about it, there was one pivotal movie that inspired so many others, and that is the OG movie, The Exorcist. If you didn't know, The Exorcist is actually based on true events that happened to a 14-year-old boy named Roland Doe. Roland Doe was a young, quiet boy living in Cottage City, Maryland. Roland was gifted a Ouija board by his Aunt Harriet. Unfortunately, that aunt ended up passing away, and Roland was said to use the Ouija board to still keep in contact with her. However, as many people know, you're not supposed to play with Ouija boards. And after he used it, a lot of odd events, unexplainable events, began to happen. There were reported events of odd noises. The walls would rattle by themselves. Objects would fly all around the home. And most concerningly, there would be big red scratches all over Roland's body. These terrifying events prompted the family to reach out for help from Father Raymond Bishop. Father Bishop then decided to come into the home to see if he could help Roland. He said that during an exorcism, he had to stop halfway through due to pieces of the mattress being thrown at him by Roland, injuring him. Roland was then said, during the exorcism, to have red scratch marks appear all over his body, and they ended up spelling out the name Louis. Roland's family felt like this was a sign and decided to go to the St. Louis University, where they coincidentally happened to meet Father Walter Halloran as well as Reverend William Bowdern. See, if I saw the name Louis scratched all over a body, the logic would be gone. I wouldn't assume it would be a college. I would just be like, okay, we need to find a Louis. How do you put 1 and 2 together and take them to the college? It's almost like everything was meant to be. Then you run into these 2 people to help you. It's pretty It's pretty incredible. So Father Walter Halloran and Reverend William Bowdern were the two men to perform the next exorcism on Roland. Reverend Bowdern placed a crucifix under Roland's pillow. The family then witnessed the furniture flip over and the mattress began to shake violently. The crucifix ended up being pushed to the very end of Roland's bed, still unsuccessful. The exorcisms of Roland didn't stop there though. There were more performed at the Georgetown University Hospital as well as the Alexian Brothers Hospital. During these exorcisms, Roland was said to speak Latin, urinate, spit, have multiple episodes of vomiting, and was said to speak in an unfamiliar, deep, bellowing voice. Roland's last exorcism included Reverend Bowdern, Father Halloran, and with the additional assistance of William Van Roo. Father Halloran's nose ended up being broken during the ritual, and at the very end they stated they believed this final attempt had been successful. If you're a brave soul and watched The Exorcist, you know that Roland's character is actually portrayed by a 12-year-old girl in that movie. Both experienced demonic possession post playing with a Ouija board, which, as we stated earlier, don't play with Ouija boards, and that's kind of what they were focused around. But the differences are that the little girl in the movie, the scratches on her body ended up spelling out the words "help me," unlike the Lewis on Roland's body. So the creepy part to me is the infamous ceiling wall crawl and the 360 head spin have not been confirmed or denied to have actually happened. No one has come forward and admitted either way if those accounts occurred. I thought it would be really interesting and beneficial to include real life stories from an exorcism or two that experienced some really terrifying things. One of those being from Father Chad Ripperger. Not sure how to say his last name, so we'll refer to him as Father Chad. He is an American Catholic priest and exorcist. Father Chad has so many different interviews all over the internet. Obviously, very heavy religious undertones, so do with that information as you will. I want to be respectful about everyone's beliefs. Everybody's entitled to believe their own thing, but obviously he's a Catholic priest, and that will be the main focus of what he talks about in a lot of his interviews. He references back to the Bible many times. All that being said though, he is very forthcoming with his experiences and has done countless interviews that are very much available on the internet if you want to do your own research. Father Chad hones in on fear being a huge component of attracting negative and demonic energies. He believes in order to push these things away, if you maintain your faith and you have positivity and a strong heart, that is something that just repels them away from you. And I think that's really interesting because in the spiritual world, it seems that good vibes help a lot more than hinder. It is also said that Father Chad is in high demand within the Catholic churches for these services. Father Chad shared some really specific information during an interview regarding an exorcism performed that left a lasting impact on him. Father Chad said a demon named Beelzebub possessed a young woman. During the exorcism, she actually manifested her face into a man's. She was said to be yelling the same loudness I am talking right now to you guys, but somehow her voice was reverberating throughout the entire church. This made Father Chad's assistant run out, leaving Father Chad alone because he believed an earthquake was happening. Father Chad remembered looking at the woman's face, which morphed back into a man's, and he could see what hell really looked like. Father Chad said it was the first time he's ever been afraid in his career because he could see how serious the situation was as an exorcist. So like I said, obviously the interview had a lot of religious undertones. I left a lot out and summarized. The last story involves another exorcist, and his name is Father Vincent Lampert. Father Vincent is an American Catholic priest who was appointed an exorcist by the Archbishop Daniel Buchalin back in 2005. Father Vincent says that demons are preternatural, so they're above our understanding. This is why they can crawl on walls, they can spin their heads to ways which are not humanly possible, or levitate, all which Father Vincent says that he's witnessed. Father Vincent offers some information saying that there are several signs of a manifestation or someone's afflicted, indicating an exorcism is needed. Some of these would include the aversion of the sacred, which is usually the most dominant trait. So the individual doesn't like the cross, they don't like the prayer beads, they can't handle the holy water. This is often depicted in the movies. Another sign is having an elevated perception of knowledge of things that the individual doesn't know. I didn't understand what this meant. I thought it meant like all of a sudden the person can do a really hard math problem. No. Father Vincent gave a very specific example though that was pretty helpful. He said a fellow exorcist who fell on the stairs earlier that day injured his ankle. While performing an exorcism, the demon said, "How did you like that trip I gave you earlier?" It's almost like a psychic ability. The demon knew he was injured without ever being told. It's like he could almost read the exorcist's mind. I don't like that. That is terrifying. I guess they do that in movies too. They know if somebody's pregnant, they know your fears, they know something bad that's happened to you, and they feed on it, and it's just a goosebumps. I don't like it. The third is superhuman strength, which we all know what that is. And lastly, an indicator would be the individual speaking languages the person just doesn't know. So for example, a 6-year-old speaking fluent Latin that is English, or they could speak Spanish all of a sudden, or any other language. It's just they can speak languages they didn't know. Father Vincent ended up sharing a very scary story he experienced in that interview. He said he was training in Rome back in 2006, where he shadowed under a priest. Father Vincent followed a priest to a cottage in the countryside of Rome. A young woman was sitting in her chair, and then she smiled directly at Father Vincent with a sinister grin. She then began to levitate about a foot off the chair. The priest Father Vincent was shadowing quickly told him to pray, 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 snapping Father Vincent back into reality. The priest set his hand on the woman's shoulder, pushing her back into the chair while continuously praying, kind of like, "I'm not interested in your theatrics, demon." Father Vincent reflected back on this situation, saying it was one of the greatest teaching moments of his career. While he was so in shock with the situation, the priest he was shadowing was so matter-of-fact with it all, continuously praying, continuing his faith. Father Vincent said, "Levitation like that, head spitting, or bodily contortions are a way to break your focus during prayer, and the demon then regains control." That is terrifying, and if I saw someone floating or levitating, I'd throw up. That's that. I wouldn't think to pray, so that's incredible. After watching both Father Chad and Father Vincent's interviews, to me, it was very evident that they displayed profound stoicism. They both maintained their characters and were so matter-of-fact when recounting their experiences. Even though the interviewers were asking very jarring questions, they did not show their emotions, and they most definitely did not display fear at any point. It was truly remarkable, and I highly suggest looking up some of their interviews and question and answer sessions as well. More importantly, what do you think? Do you believe in the power of exorcisms? Do you believe in exorcists? Do you really believe that the Vatican has a class that teaches exorcisms? I want to hear what you think. Also, if you have any paranormal or spooky stories you'd be comfortable and willing to share, send me a DM on Instagram at aHauntMess, or leave a comment down below. I would love to read them. If you liked this video, please like and comment, share with your other spooky friends, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.